You are watching Facts Me TV. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.
Today on Facts Me TV, we are going to go down the line of Candace's return. No, I'm not going to make you sit through the entire video. I'm just going to point out the lies. And let me tell y'all something. This one broke the record for a single episode. We're also going to briefly touch base on Karmelo Anthony and all of the controversy, the unnecessary controversy that is going on with his recent sentencing. And I think you all are up to speed on that, but we're going to talk just a little bit about it today before we get into exposing all of Candace's lies. But all is coming up right after this amazing intro. My friends, welcome to another episode of Facts Me TV. I am Stephen Lancaster. We haven't decided yet, but I'm going with Master Factivist. No. You guys are the masters, the Master Factivists. But today, guys, we're going to talk briefly about Karmelo Anthony and what went down with that murder trial, more or less, the conviction, and all of the heat that is now coming from the left and the liberals about this. We're going to discuss that because I want to get you guys, I want to get your opinions on that in the chat. But today's show is mainly going to be, you could literally make a career out of fact-checking Candace Owens or just the grifters in general. Maybe that's what I'm doing here. I just don't know. But I took one for the team last night. And I mean, I really took one for the team. Not only did I watch the entire episode, okay, I had to go back, watch it again. Then I had to go back and watch it again because I'll tell you why. Because the entire time, I felt like a confused dog. Candace would talk and I'm just like, what? It was very, very confusing because one of my gigs is history, man. You guys know I'm a master of all trades, or so they say. History is one of them, especially Egyptology. One day we'll have a conversation about that. I've got a lot of Egyptian artifacts here at the Facts Me studios. But I love history and psychology. You know, we've talked about that, music. And I'm listening to Candace, who now apparently, that once you travel to Russia, you return as a history major. So, you know, I was kind of wrong. I thought her entire episode was going to be dedicated to debunking Charlie's video. And she does get into that, and we're going to get into that. But the majority of it, and I'm not going to show you guys all of this, so if you want to go watch it, go watch it. But the majority of her episode was nothing more than one big justification. She came back and she was addressing was I on vacation? Was I not on vacation? I don't know, Dugan, this, that, and the other thing. Literally, the majority of her show was defending herself against the majority of the claims that all came out last week, including from myself. But none of that is really all that important. It's all the lies that she told. And generally, when I review an episode of Candace Owens, there's 3 or 4 good ones, you know, 3 or 4 good lies. Not this one, guys. She came back full force. Not only did she return as a history professor, and a very, very bad one, DEI professor, is what you're about to witness today here on Fax Me. And that's not me, it's her. Okay. We already know she was a DEI hire for Turning Point USA. You know, Charlie's own words, he needed somebody black to represent the black community. In comes Candace. Then when she went to the Daily Wire, same exact thing. They needed somebody to represent a black conservative. She was hired because she was black and telling everybody she was conservative. Another DEI position. Blexit. DEI. I mean, that's kind of, you know what I'm saying? That one's obvious. But, you know, Charlie wasn't going to run Blexit. He wanted Candace to do it because she's black. You know, there again, giving people positions because of their skin color. That's the wrong thing to do. You got to be qualified, guys. So now she's a DEI professor on history. It's fantastic, guys. Fantastic. You know, she crossed the wrong one with this episode, just let me tell you. Because again, I'm just like, no, that's not how it happened. No, wait, what? Huh? And of course, everything about last night's show was wrapped nice up in a Jewish bow. Hey, I didn't even try to rhyme. And look, I mean, I'm just rattling them out. I think I've had too much caffeine today, I think is what's the problem. So today's Fax Me TV is sponsored by Too Much Caffeine Today. Speaking of which, guys, look, Cherry Diet Coke, that's where it's at. You guys know I get sidetracked, and I know you guys are here for those sidetracks, okay? It's how we learn things about one another. But no, man, growing up, you know, my first job was a paper route. now you're in the chat like, wait a minute, he was just about to get into the show. Told you, man, I like to sidetrack, you know? It keeps things interesting, keeps things less stale. But my first job was a paper route. I was 15 years old, going to high school, 2 different martial art classes during the week at night, didn't get home until like 11 o'clock at night. On top of that, marching band, jazz band, concert band. I was always a busybody, guys. Always a busybody. But I would get up at 3 in the morning. I had 400 and some papers to deliver 7 days a week. Now, I grew up in the hills, the mountains of Western Maryland. So it was wading through 3-4 foot of snow. Okay, I was killing it, man. I was in shape then. Not so much now. But anyways, it was great come Christmas time, man. The Tips bought me a new drum set and a Sega, if I remember correctly, a Sega Genesis. I think that was about that time. It was either that. Yeah, it was a Sega. It was a Sega. Regardless, the point I was getting at is what? This is what happens when Steven gets sidetracked. No, the Cherry Coke. There was this little mom and pop store, had pinball machines in there, and they made the real fountain drinks, man, the real vanilla Cokes, the real Cherry Cokes. And I got addicted to Cherry Coke. I mean, that was a must. I would stop there first before I'd go to the paper store to get my papers, and then I would start my 3-hour trek. Then I'd get back to the house, get ready for school, go to school. Then after school, there was usually something with band or my personal band or martial arts, right? It's always busy. But then I became an adult. And, you know, what happens when you become an adult? You start to get fat. When you don't have time when all you do is work, right? So I was like, you know, I'm going to switch to diet. So I switched to Diet Coke. And it wasn't until this past year. Now, I don't know when this came out. I haven't done any research on the Cherry Diet Coke, but I just discovered it about 2 months ago, maybe less. And this is like a dream come true to me. You have taken my favorite drink as a kid and now made it available for an adult that doesn't want to get fatter. So there you go, Diet Coke. Anytime you guys want to throw a sponsorship in, that would be fantastic because I love your product. See, I can do it, guys. I can do it. I'm selling Cherry Diet Cokes for you guys right now. But let's jump into this, guys. As I like to say, let's think of something I like to say. I use the let's lay it out to play it out a lot. But how about let's act it out to fact it out? Yes. Yes. You guys heard it here first. Let's act it out to fact it out. Or we whacked out. Or we whacked out? No, Candace was whacked out. We act out to fact out. That's right. Man, what is in this? You too will come up with corny dad joke slogans when consuming Cherry Diet Coke. Let's talk about this Karmelo Anthony. Couple of kids, man. Couple kids just getting in a spat. Here's what happened, in case you don't know. In April of last year, 2025, there was a high school track meet, right? It was raining. And Karmelo Anthony was 17 years old at the time, and he was sitting under the team tent that belonged to Austin Metcalf's school, right? Frisco Memorial. So Metcalf and other students reportedly told Anthony to leave the tent. Like, this isn't for you. I don't know how that all went down. I don't know if it was a racist thing, whatever. Okay, that's not the point here. And the argument escalated. I guess Karmelo didn't want to leave, right? So witnesses say that Anthony reached toward his bag and made a warning type statement. Okay, so Anthony warned the other kid. Now I'm like scrolling through. So he warned the other kid, and the other kid, why can't I remember his name? I'm like losing my mind here. Austin. Duh. Austin. Sorry guys, I'm trying to watch my surveillance. My dogs are barking, making sure I'm not being attacked by some left-wing radicalized fool. So Metcalf then pushed him. So he was threatened by the kid they were trying to get to leave their tent. Metcalf pushed him. Anthony pulled out a knife and stabbed Metcalf once in the chest. And Metcalf died. Austin died from this stab. Now, this isn't like when we were kids, man. If you had a beef with somebody, you'd take it to the streets, or out into the hall, or you'd meet before school, or you'd meet after school. You'd beat the crap out of each other. And then 10-1 by the weekend, you were going hunting together, right? Or fishing, or just causing problems in general, usually with beer in hand. But it's not like that anymore. It's not like that anymore. So, to my understanding of what happened under that tent, Austin was threatened by this guy, Karmelo Anthony. And so Austin pushed him down. Like, dude, you're not going to threaten me. And, well, you know what happened? Karmelo Anthony pulled out a knife and killed him. So that's what happened, and that's why he went to trial. So this just happened the other day, they convicted Anthony of murder. They rejected the self-defense. That's what he was playing. He was saying it was self-defense because he got pushed. But he verbally threatened the other kid first. Okay? And people need to understand that words matter. When you threaten somebody, there are consequences. And when you stab and kill somebody, there are consequences. This has nothing to do with race at all. But every time it seems there's a small portion that wants to make it that way. No, guys, I have the t-shirt. There's a Fax Me t-shirt that says error is not oppression. Okay, that's straight from my playbook, Blue Playbook Conservative. There's a whole chapter. Error is not oppression. So when you commit the crime, there is going to be accountability and consequence. Okay? And I will even go a step further. And I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. This is just the reality of it. Even if every person in that courtroom or on that jury was a racist, in the end, it doesn't matter. He killed another human being. He intended to. He pulled out the knife, he stabbed that young man in the chest and killed him. So whether you're black, white, purple, green, whatever, you are a murderer. So it doesn't matter if everybody in that courtroom was racist or not, which that's not clearly the truth. But that's what a small portion of people are trying to say. It's like, what's his face all over again, right? So is this going to start riots again? Is this going to start people getting robbed? Is this going to start burning down of your local businesses? I don't know. I certainly hope not. But the part that's being left out, and there's actually two things I want to mention to this before we get on to carrying on about Candace. Karmelo Anthony's family started a GoFundMe, a Give, Send, Go is what it was called. Help Karmelo Official Fund. Okay, this is a kid that stabbed the opposite race, a white kid, and killed him. But we're going to raise money for him. Okay, that's a problem right out the gate, that this would even be allowed. Okay, yeah, it's innocent until proven guilty. I get that. I understand that. But there's some things that I don't think this kind of stuff should be. I don't think you should be allowed to use these funding sites for legal matters. I really don't. That's just me. What do you guys think in the chat? I just don't personally think these GoFundMes and all this other stuff, Kickstarters, should be used for anything legal. If you have charges against you, you should not be able to use this kind of stuff. That's just my personal opinion. But they raised $631,000 and $631,519. So I've got Candace in the head, man. Yes, she's rent-free, you candy cultists, because I'm just thinking about everything I have to remember for these 15 lies we're about to cover. $631,519. Their goal was $1.39 million. That is absurd, okay? And the page says the money goes to Kala Hayes, which is Anthony's mother. Here's the problem. They use that money to buy a brand new house and a brand new Cadillac. And these same people are now trying to turn this into a racial thing because a murderer was convicted. What are your thoughts, guys? Thoughts in the comments. There is this whole racism thing is just too much of the easy out. It's always the scapegoat anymore, and that is not the case. You know, we all deal with some form of prejudice or racism every day. We don't use it as an excuse. Period. Racists did not make this young boy, this young man, kill another kid. Racism did not make him kill that kid. Racism exists. I'm not denying that. But you cannot use that as the excuse for your own actions. Thoughts, my friends? The last thing I'm going to say on this, because another thing you're going to start hearing out there, I've seen it kind of trickling into the arguments, is that there wasn't a single black person on that jury. Well, here's the part they're leaving out. Both the prosecution and the defense have a say in the jury. So his defense had an equal amount of say as the prosecution did. Both the prosecution and the defense, I think it's up to 10. You get up to 10 challenges is what they refer to that. 10 challenges. So if you don't like this person, let's say some guy comes in there wearing coveralls and a Confederate flag bandana. Yeah, he might not be a good one for this, right? Because unfortunately, in these scenarios, you have to watch for that thing. You have to profile people. That is what this is. But they're leaving out that the defense, his defense, had the same opportunity in that jury process as the prosecution. So you can't say that it was purposely done that jury didn't have any black people. Okay. Educate yourselves, my friends, before you go out there trying to blame racism. Blaming racism does not change the fact that he murdered another young man in cold blood. He stabbed him in the chest. Racism did not cause that. All All right, my friends, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we are going to lay it out for you to play it out. 15 corrections need made from Candace, the professor, Professor Candace, her return from Russia, and her first show back, which of course was all about herself and Russia and Jews and Israel and Erica Kirk. You know, it's all the same. It's all the same. Anyway, now I got Bon Jovi in my head. Guys, check this out, and we'll be right back.
This channel is a mix of facts, parody, satire, and personal opinion. If you ever need clarification on any of the material, please don't hesitate to ask.
All right, my friends, we are back. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Facts Me TV. We just went over the recent racism cries due to the high-profile case that was going on with Karmelo Anthony and Austin Metcalf, and you guys know the result of that. But now we are going to start calling out Candace. Where's my dog? Remington. Hey, can you put up on the screen the Candace lie counter? See, I've got my own producer. It's kind of a dog. So if there's any mistakes during any show at any time, got to blame my dog, Remington. He's like, man, I'm out of here, bro. Anyways, let's start. Not even 5 minutes into the show, okay, she says,
Trump administration sent an entire delegation which participated in the SPEEF Economic Forum because it's a thing. It's a thing that many people have spoken out at in it's considered an honor to be able to speak at SPEEF. And yeah, it was just crazy. And she was demanding that I get investigated by the U.S. Treasury and State Department. I'm like, the same State Department that is sending an entire delegation are going to now investigate me for attending SPEEF, violations of FARA.
All right, so she said the Trump administration sent an entire delegation to the same conference. An entire delegation to the same conference. She used that word entire twice. An entire delegation to the same conference. Now, factivists, when you hear the word entire, what does that make you think? Abundant, right? A lot. All of them. If I say that entire bucket is full, then you know that bucket is completely full. It's entirely full, right? Line number one, Professor Candace. Reporting has confirmed Rodney Mims Cook Jr., who's a Trump appointee and chair of the U.S. Commission of Fine Arts, attended and conveyed a greeting to Putin. So he was there. One guy, Rodney Cook Jr., not an entire delegation. Trump sent his entire delegation to Russia. No, he didn't. He sent one guy. One. Okay, so let's move on. So she's playing the vacation card. She was going on vacation. And just, the chances. You're going on vacation. All of a sudden you're speaking at a Russian event that's tied to the Kremlin. Okay, right? Here's the problem with that. You're going on vacation, but you take two military personnel guys to be bodyguards for you and your family. Okay? There is an active war going on. And you're taking your children straight into it. Now, you don't need an invite to get into Russia. Okay. However, what she left out is the U.S. State Department advisory. We have Russia at a level 4, which means do not travel. So we have Russia at a level 4, do not travel, and you're going to take your children to Russia for a vacation. No, nobody's buying that, Candace. Nobody is buying that. The U.S. government says Americans should not travel for any reason because of detention, terrorism, unrest, arbitrary enforcement of laws, drone attacks, which happened while you were there, Candace, and no U.S. help. And that same advisory says any U.S. citizens already there need to leave immediately. So nobody is buying your story, Candace, that you planned a vacation in a war zone to take your children to. Get out of here, man. All right. What do we got next? Okay, so Candace goes to Russia. Everybody, including myself, every other commentator, political analyst, normal, everyday, average people that are just on social media, everybody was questioning it. Everybody was questioning it. This doesn't make sense. We know she's tied to Dugan. We know she just went to Italy. Everybody was questioning it. But Candace would have you believe.
I mean, the absolute state of Zionist affairs in media today. She didn't tell you she was going to be speaking on a panel in St. Petersburg while on family vacation. Is everybody okay? But before we get into why, because there is a reason why, in particular, there was this panic amongst Zionists. Let's be clear. It was the Zionists that were having an absolute meltdown about Russia.
That it was just the Jews. I'm not Jewish. Are you guys Jewish? I know you had questions about it. Anybody Jewish here? Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just saying. She's just making it out that it was only the Jews trying to start things. Next thing, we get a little bit more into the show, and she says Congress is voting to effectively merge our military with Israel's military.
And I am seeing this entire scenario with news that they're now voting to effectively merge our military with Israel's military, right? I think you guys saw the headlines of this. Congress discreetly moves to merge U.S. military even closer to Israel's. That's trending. People are outraged.
Say that again. You heard her say it. Congress is voting to effectively merge our military with Israel's military. Here's the truth. Here's the actual language. FY 2027 NDAA refers to a United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative, including defense technology research, testing, evaluation, integration, and industrial cooperation. That is defense tech cooperation. I'm going to say it again. What Congress is doing is a defense tech cooperation, not a literal merger of the U.S. and Israel militaries. You hitting that counter, Remington? All right, the next one. Israel, because why not, did intentionally and consciously attack the USS Liberty because they wanted to drag us into a wider war.
Of what Israel did intentionally and consciously to our servicemen when they thought they were going to help Israel because they wanted to drag us into a wider war.
Candace presents this. Israel did intentionally and consciously attack the USS Liberty because they wanted to drag us into a wider war. She presents this as established fact, but it is not an established fact. The USS Liberty attack happened on June 8th in 1967, killing 34 Americans and wounding many more. Israel apologized and said it was mistaken identity. U.S. accepted the mistake explanation. The motive claim that Israel did it to drag us into a wider war is nothing more than a Candace allegation. It is not a fact. Next thing. Can you guess what she's talking about again? Jews.
That's a now, if you fast forward, a Zionist historical story. We can start with the assassination of Tsar Alexander II. It was plotted by a terrorist group in Russia, known in English as the People's Will. That was the name of the terrorist group. And despite the fact, and these, again, are facts, that Jewish people represented only 4% of the population, they were overrepresented in this terrorist cell that was involved in the plotting and the eventual assassination of the Tsar. In 1881, which is when his carriage was passing through St. Petersburg, an assassin stepped forward and threw a bomb at his carriage. And the Tsar was unhurt, but one of his soldiers were, and he stepped out to check on him. And at that moment, a second assassin stepped forward and threw a bomb directly at the Tsar's feet, and he died. Incredible, by the way, background of this. The reason why I got into the story is I was just researching the history of radical feminism in our country, and it brought me to Russia and the Jewish women who were involved in the plotting and the planning of this assassination.
Using Jewish overrepresentation in a revolutionary group to imply Jews Zionists were behind Alexander II's assassination. This is collective blame framing. Okay? Just a lie. Alexander II was assassinated by the revolutionary group called the People's Will. Okay? Which she mentions. But the assassins were not Jewish. Even if some Jewish radicals were overrepresented in revolutionary circles, that does not make the assassination a Jewish or Zionist act. So she's completely framing that to suit her narrative. It is a lie. The next one. It's very difficult for anybody to show what law kicked Jewish people out.
Very difficult for anybody to show what law kicked Jewish people out, but they willfully left when people said you can't kill czars.
They willfully left. Okay? This is false. Flat out false. Lie. Very difficult for anybody to show what law kicked Jewish people out. They willfully left. Jews in the Russian Empire faced formal legal restrictions and expulsions. The Pale of Settlement restricted where many Jews could live. The many laws of 1882 imposed residency and business restrictions. And the Jews were expelled from Moscow in 1891. The mass migration was not simply voluntary departure after people said that the Jews killed Alexander. So she's framing it complete. It's a flat out lie. Next thing, at that moment, the revolution was won. The communist regime began under Vladimir Lenin.
And at that moment, the revolution was won. The communist regime began under Vladimir Lenin.
At that moment, the revolution was won. The communist regime began under Vladimir Lenin. Wrong, lie, false, Professor Candace. Nicholas II, in March of 1917, abdicated, okay? The Romanov family that she's talking about was killed on July 17th, 1918, after the Bolsheviks were already in power and during the Russian Civil War. So she just mixed up everything to try to fit her narrative. Next thing she says, Yurovsky was, yes, a Jew.
He was, yes, a Talmudic Jew. The family was awakened and told to dress under the guise of being relocated to a safer place.
No. She's framing it again to suit her narrative. Rurovsky led the Romanov execution, but the historically relevant fact is that this was a Bolshevik political execution during the Russian Civil War. Framing the killing as work of a Jew suggests religious and ethnic causation that, guess what, Candace, the historical record doesn't support. These are historical records. You're trying to rewrite them to fit your narrative. Another lie. Thank you, Remington. Next thing. She says the greatest genocide of all time began.
The greatest genocide of all time began is a better way of saying it. More than 60 million Russian Christians were then ruthlessly murdered.
I know. We're almost through it, dude. Gosh. False. Another lie. The greatest genocide of all time began is false. Soviet repression, famine, religious persecution, deportations, and the deaths were real and horrific. But describing it as the greatest genocide of all time against Russian Christians is not how history classifies it, Candace. Some very high-end estimates for the total Soviet democide, but those are not the same as documented genocide of Russian Christians as Christians. So she's just taking, like we talked about before, that inkling of truth and then stretching it into her narrative, trying to literally rewrite history. History, any one of you can go look up. You can take any of these things that we're pointing out here today and go look it up. You're going to get the same answer I gave you. She says more than 60 million Russian Christians were ruthlessly murdered. More than 60 million Russian Christians were ruthlessly murdered. Lie. The 60 million figure resembles the high-end estimates for all deaths in the Soviet state. For all Soviet state killings across many groups, many causes, not just Russian Christians specifically. So 60 million people died or were murdered, killed. She's trying to convince you it was all just Russian Christians. 60 million Russian Christians. It wasn't. They were just a percentage of it. So she's framing it. She's lying. It's not reliable. It's not a fact, guys. Here we go. We've heard her actually say this before. Everything, and I mean everything, that we have been told about Russia is a lie.
Everything, and I mean everything that we have been told about Russia is a lie.
False. Personal observations about clean cities, churches, or grocery stores, Candace, do not disprove documented risks. The U.S. State Department's Level 4 advisory cites terrorism, unrest, wrongful detention, and of course other risks. Level 4 does not mean every street is ugly or unsafe. It means the U.S. government sees serious safety and risk concerns. So no, not everything that we have been told about Russia is a lie, Candace. Everything you say is a lie. This one I thought was funny, because you would think that she would know her boy Kanye. But she says Kanye can't perform in the West.
Russia, sanctioned to hell, wasn't allowed to start because I wouldn't worship Israel, right? Candace can't even get into Australia. She's banned from Australia. She can't go. Kanye can't perform in the West. He's not allowed to do his songs because it's now ideological.
He's not allowed to do his songs. What do you guys think? Can Kanye perform in the West? You guessed it. Hit the number. That's another lie. Ye, or whatever he's calling himself, Kanye West, has faced bans or cancellations in some countries. But Reuters and AP reported he was allowed to perform in the Netherlands like June. Like here we are. He performed in the Netherlands. They also noted shows in Aram, and other performance has occurred that were planned outside of countries that they claimed have barred him. So Candace, lying again. Finally, she gets to Erica Kirk, which we knew she would, and it's not going to stop here. But this is completely funny, okay? I'm keeping these clips short. I urge you to go watch them, if you want to see the full context of everything. But I have a small amount of time to work with. She, of course, went with the AI, okay? But she also said that she may had something to do with trafficking in Romania. So she's back to that.
As somebody that she was very involved with the faith community, Erica being involved with the bringing really kind of this whole faith grift to Turning Point USA. A little bit weird when people are saying that they believe that you had something to do with trafficking in Romania. If that's the allegation that's been made about Erica Kirk's past, that you would partner with a church that is quite literally being sued for the very same reasons.
Okay. But here, just like we said before, there is no credible evidence anywhere other than Candace spewing it that Erica Kirk was banned from Romania or that her Romanian charity work was tied to child trafficking. There's separate lawsuits involving the Harvest Christian Fellowship and Greg Laurie, but that's not proof that Erica Kirk trafficked anyone. There's literally zero evidence of that. And all you see is Candace and her cultists. They keep claiming it. We see it all over social media all the time. There's not a lick of evidence to that. Nothing has been verified. It's all coming from Candace. Now, she gets back into the video. She says AI tools could have been used to doctor that footage. Of course, they could have been. That's common sense.
It's very clearly cut and chopped. Was he saying this about something else? Nobody knows. Here it is.
The most important relationship in your life is the one that you have with your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
His passion was my passion, and now his mission is my mission.
I appoint my wife to run Turning Point USA if something happens to me. Erica would do a great job.
So I will say definitively that I believe that this clip is doctored.
She says, I believe this video was doctored. That's fine. You can believe that. But 200 people in attendance are kind of saying differently by not saying anything at all, Canduns. 200 people were there. 200 donors watched that as it was being filmed. You can call it whatever you want, but there is zero evidence that that footage was fake. You're just upset because it doesn't suit your narrative. It doesn't suit your vendetta and your jealousy of Erica Kirk. We know this. So, a clip being edited and shortened or lacking full context, to be clear, is not the same as being doctored. If that were the case, if that were the rule, everything I show here is doctored. I've cut up your show just to show the relevant pieces that we're proving you lied about. Does that mean it's doctored? No, it's edited for time. There's a difference. Editing and doctoring are two different things, two different conclusions. Without the file and the forensics review, the best way to say it, Candace, is the video's full context has not been publicly established here. But there is no verified proof anywhere that this was AI doctored. Now, you guys know I've been in film production almost going on 30 years. Okay, I can tell you what it takes to fake stuff, but I'm not seeing it at all. And then you put on top of that the 200 donors that witnessed it being recorded who haven't come out and said, hey, Remington, you about got that, buddy? He's just so tired of hearing about Candace. I don't blame him. You know, he had to sit there with me last night, and he's like, are we watching her again? Didn't you just listen to her say that? But yeah, buddy, I'm like trying to research so I can fact check this stuff. He don't understand.
Who's he looking at? Erica's not in the audience. I appoint my wife. Erica will do a great job. But rather than to speculate, I decided, let's just contact Turning Point USA with really just two easy questions. Then I kind of wanted a confirmation.
So anyways, this was a recap of her episode, if you want to go check out the whole thing, called I'm Back. Because of course she's going to start it about herself. Russian collusion and turning point delusion. Okay? She's inferring all of us and Turning Point USA are suffering from delusions. Hey, my friends, this is Steven from Fax Me. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stop!
Bok bok.
You are watching Facts Me TV. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more content.
Let's begin with something radical, the truth, which is fake and gay. We are 6 months in, and there is no evidence. None. Not hidden, not suppressed, not coming soon, just absent. A vacuum. A void so complete, it has now been filled with witches. Yes, witches. Because when facts fail, mysticism is always there, waiting patiently, like a backup generator for the intellectually bankrupt. So buckle up. Today I'm unveiling what I can only describe as the next phase. Not evidence, not proof, but something far more useful in this economy. A narrative. One so thin, so fragile, it barely survives contact with oxygen, but don't worry, we'll say it confidently. You're watching Candace, a program dedicated to the fine art of saying nothing, repeatedly, with escalating certainty. Don't forget to buy the merch, because if the facts won't pay, the audience will. Now, today's revelation, NASA. Not the space agency you thought, no, a covert satanic infrastructure using satellites not to explore the universe, but to channel witches. Why? To target political enemies, obviously. To guide AI-controlled Egyptian aircraft. Accelerate them to 1.21 gigawatts, yes, we're borrowing from science fiction now and bedtime itself. All to land precisely on September 9th. Because if you can't prove something happened, simply invent a mechanism so absurd it becomes unfalsifiable. And here's where it gets darker. I have obtained exclusive audio. Brace yourself. It is the sound of a coin hitting a table. Not just any table. A table manufactured in Texas. Texas connected to global trade, trade connected to Israel, Israel connected to money. And money, well, money connects to everyone. But today, it connects to Erica Kirk. Now, my experts, and I use that word the way a child uses a cardboard box as a spaceship, have determined this was a dime. 10 cents. 10 and what day? Exactly. You see how this works? You don't build a case, you assemble a mood. You don't prove, you imply. You don't connect facts, you connect feelings, and let the audience do the rest. Coincidence doesn't exist when you've decided in advance what the answer must be. And that is the business model. So stay with me over the next 6 months as we descend even further, layer by layer, into a world where evidence is optional, confidence is currency, and the truth is, whatever survives repetition, not because it's real, not because it's fake and gay, but because it sells.
Lies, lies, everywhere is lies. Blocking out the truth, now messing with our minds. Say this, don't say that, can you see the lies? Oh, sing it with me. Lies, lies, everywhere is lies. Cool, Candace, now messing with our minds. Say this, don't say that, can you see the lies?
So, you guys be the judge. 15 lies. She's been gone for over a week from her show, comes back thinking she's going to wow her audience with her historical knowledge. And you know what? She did, because they're idiots. I mean, she could have been reading anything and they'd have been like, ooh, here's 50. And that's another thing. The money was just flying in that chat last night. I saw upwards of people donating $200 to $500 to her. Sitting there giving an incorrect history lesson, sitting there and putting more of a target on Erica, sitting there and boasting herself and just lying through her teeth. Easily in just people sending money through the chat with the super chats and stuff like that. From what I saw, was easily over $3,000 just off of that. That's not counting what she made off the ad revenue and her sponsors and all that stuff. To sit there and lie through her teeth for over an hour about history, knowing full and well that anybody can grab a history book or get on the internet and look all this stuff up and see that she fabricated it all or stretched it or steered it in a direction to suit her narrative. Everything was Jew, Israel. And none of that was true. 15 lies, my friends, in one episode. Now, we're going to end this with something that kind of, well, it's not kind of funny. It is funny because we know how stupid Candace Owens really is. You know, everything she's doing, she's reading from a teleprompter that somebody else writes. We know that she can't pronounce certain words. We know that she doesn't even know what certain words mean. This is the same woman that had no idea that thunder and lightning were tied together as a grown adult. This is the same woman who doesn't believe dinosaurs existed, even though we have all this scientific proof, but that doesn't matter to her because she doesn't subscribe to science. And you're believing her concerning a forensic investigation, a woman who willfully does not subscribe to science. You are taking her words concerning a forensic investigation. These people drive, man. These people drive. They're out there driving right now. It scares me. That scares me more than anything. But here's what's funny. She said it during the show.
But rather than to speculate, I decided, let's just contact Turning Point USA with really just 2 easy questions. Then I kind of wanted a confirmation.
And again, so demanding, so full of herself that TPUSA should stop what they're doing and answer her questions. Because why? Because she's Candace. She's the authority on how everybody should operate, apparently, right? So she sends Turning Point USA an email. And she mentioned it in last night's live. She said, I emailed them with 2 questions. 2 questions. How many questions, Factivus? 2 questions. Okay? Let's take a look at that email. Let's take a gander at this email that she sent. All right. Here we go. Let me grab this thing so I can read it to you. Her email said, Hi, everyone. Hope you are well. We are seeking comment on 2 questions. Deadline is tomorrow by 4 p.m. She gave them a deadline. Who are you? I'm having flashbacks. I'm having flashbacks of like a week or so ago when other people were trying to tell me how to do my show. We'll allow you to do it. Yeah, okay. I'm still doing it. Anyway, so she says, hope you are well. We are seeking comment on 2 questions. Deadline is tomorrow. Or else. Or else what? You gonna make up something? Number 1, there is a video circling online from your WLS event during which Charlie Kirk seemingly appoints Erica to run Turning Point USA in his absence. Can you confirm that the video shared is entirely authentic and has not been doctored in any way? Well, technically, that was 2 questions in 1 sentence, but we'll let that go. 1. A simple yes or no will suffice. Number 2, is the video shared within its proper context, meaning Charlie was not speaking in jest? 2 questions. Number 3, we are aware that the donors who asked the question at the Aspen event are redacted, and we intend to go out to them seeking comment. Do you, in any way, care to dispute that these were the donors involved? 2 questions. Okay. Now, you heard her say on her show that she sent them an email asking them 2 questions. I counted 3, unless you want to count the 2 questions in 1, which actually would have made it 4. But we'll say 3 according to punctuation. Okay? She even says in the email, we are seeking comment on 2 questions. Now, this is the icing on the cake, kids. Turning Point USA responded, and here is what they had to say. Hey, real Candace, the video is real, as you apparently have known for 7 months. See how they called her out on that? Charlie wasn't kidding. Your obsession is unhinged. Hope that takes care of your show prep for the next couple of days. Welcome back to the greatest country on the planet. P.S. That's 3 questions, comrade. Onward. I love it. She is such an idiot. She's got it in print in front of her and can't count. And then she doubles down on the fact it's 2 questions during her show after she sent the email. Then she gets the response back that says 3 questions. Oh, fantastic. Well, guys, we have hit where I'm pretty much stopping here for today. Thank you all once again for tuning in. And a big hand for Jim and Air Jeff, my amazing moderators that are here every day dealing with this insanity, being forced to listen to the shenanigans here at Facts Me TV. Guys, much love to you guys for helping out, maintaining that chat, welcoming people in, reminding people to like and share and subscribe. You guys are worth your weight in gold. I greatly appreciate it. But I'm going to jump off here and I'm going to get back to my day, start planning tomorrow's show, see what's on deck. Hope everybody enjoyed everything. Now you've got 15 lies of Candace that you can now run with when her cronies start attacking again. So I want you guys to take care. Have a wonderful evening with your family and friends, animals if you've got them. And remember, my friends, keep that truth on your tongue and God in your heart, my friends. I'll be talking at you soon.
It's the circle of lies. She's making a fortune. She wants Erica's face. It's a no, 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 no. And it's fake and gay on the path of Kristen in the circle of lies.
That is one big pile of Candace.
In the circle of life. Probably